So you went to USDA from Illinois to Washington.
Well, there were some stop-offs for some college teaching in between.
Okay.
When I left the university in 1970, I taught for 3 years at Iowa State University in the Department of Political Science. And then we moved to Southwest Missouri, where I taught again for 4 years at Southwest Missouri State University. And I guess it would have been 1977 we left there and moved across the state. We sort of adopted Missouri as our home for a while. And I became chairperson of the Department of Political Science at Southeast Missouri State University for 2 years. But while I was at Southwest, it's hard to keep these various parts of Missouri straight here, I'm sure, but I wrote a paper called The Alternative Agriculture Movement, in which I just basically did some very basic research, trying to find out who was out there, who was involved in this movement, what they believed, what their ideology was, what they hoped to obtain, what they wanted from government or didn't want from government, how successful they were, and that sort of thing. Well, that research resulted in a publication in the Policy Studies Journal, and I can only assume that someone at USDA must have read that article, and that's what led to the invitation to come in to this city and to become part of USDA in 1979 and become part of what was an interdisciplinary team that had been asked to do a survey and an analysis of organic farming in the United States by Secretary Berglund.
Now, is this the report and recommendations on organic farming?
That's that is the one.
It's really a cutting-edge document. And you were still at Missouri when you were involved in this?
Yes, well, I was at Southeast by that time, although the paper had been written a few years before that when I was at the other university in Missouri. So we moved in June of 1979, just 12 years ago. And it was very happy to get here and to find out that as the fates would have it, under Secretary Berglund's leadership and others, that an excellent team had been assembled, present company accepted. But some of the finest scientists in the department had agreed to become part of this study.
Is 79. 79. And you're being too modest, Garth. You're called the organic G-man in this article in New
I've been
Farm.
called lots of things, but I think we ought to go on past that part, probably.
Well, I particularly like this article and appreciated the fact that it was written with a great deal of hope for what you were doing at that time. And,
well, I think there was a lot of hope, and there still is. Secretary Berglund, as you know, was quite supportive of this, and in fact requested the study. He's been misunderstood and misrepresented on this, as many have. I know Bob Berglund, and he would be the last person to want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that we ought to switch totally to organic farming systems immediately and that kind of thing. But he was aware from his own farming experience and some of the not relatives, but friends who farm near him of some very successful operations. And so it seemed logical, and many others feel it was logical, to ask the question, how many others are doing this? And how do you account for their success? How can they be this productive without the use of chemicals? In some cases none, or very limited sparing amounts of chemical inputs. And so that's really what spawned the study, was his desire to simply find out a little bit more about what was going on. Because at that time, very little work had been done, virtually none,